Alright, so we've just covered the basics of reading, getting comfortable with the fundamentals. Now, let's level up. We're moving into the second layer, inspectional reading. This is where things get really interesting. It's not just about reading words, it's about actively engaging with the text to quickly grasp what it's all about. Think of it as your reconnaissance mission before diving deep into a book. You can't even start this level if you haven't mastered basic reading. You need to be able to understand sentences without getting bogged down in every single word. It's about getting the gist, the main ideas, the overall structure. This is where the real work begins. Now, inspectional reading isn't a single, monolithic thing. It actually has two main stages. Think of it like having two different tools for the job. First, there's systematic skimming or pre-reading. This is the lightning-fast scan, the initial overview. Then, there's superficial reading. This is a more deliberate, first pass through the text, especially useful when you're tackling a really tough book. For beginners, it's helpful to think of these as separate steps, but experienced readers often blend them seamlessly. We'll break down each stage next. Let's dive into the first stage, systematic skimming. Imagine you're at a buffet, but instead of just grabbing everything, you quickly scan the whole thing. That's what you're doing here. The goal is to figure out if this book is worth your time for a deep dive, or if it's just a quick snack. You're not trying to understand every detail, but rather, you're looking for the big picture, the main themes, the author's purpose, the overall structure. It's like sifting through grain to find the valuable kernels. You might spend only minutes to an hour, but you'll walk away with a much clearer idea of what the book is about and whether it's relevant to you. Time well spent. Okay, step 1 of your skimming mission, hit the title page and preface. If there's a preface, read it fast. What's the main title? What's the subtitle? What's the author's angle? What's the point of this book? This gives you a first impression, a quick snapshot of the theme. You can even mentally slot this book into a category you already know, like history, philosophy, or self-help. It's like getting the headline before the full story. Quick, but crucial. Next up, the table of contents. Don't skip this one. Seriously, it's like the map to the book's territory. Look at it carefully. What chapters are there? What are the main sections? What's the overall structure? Is it a chronological account, a problem-solution format, or something else? Many authors spend ages crafting these talks, so they're packed with information. It's like looking at a map before starting a journey. You get a sense of the route, the major landmarks, the overall flow. This helps you understand how the author is building their argument or telling their story. If your book has an index, give it a quick look. Especially common in nonfiction, it tells you what topics the author covered. What kind of concepts are they talking about? What other books or authors do they mention? If you see a term that sounds important, maybe one you've already flagged, glance at the page number listed. It's a quick way to check if the book actually delves into that topic. It's like a mini tour of the book's intellectual landscape. And if you're looking at a brand new book, don't ignore the publisher's blurb. Yeah, those promotional bits can sometimes be hype, but often, they are written by the author themselves, trying to capture the essence of the book. It gives you a quick, often concise summary of the main points and why it's supposed to be important. It's not gospel, but it's a shortcut. If the blurb is weak, maybe the book itself is too. It helps you quickly gauge if the book is worth your attention. Think of it as the elevator pitch for the book. Okay, you've got the big picture from the TOC. Now, pick a few chapters that seem central to the book's main theme. Maybe the first or last chapter, or the one that sounds most intriguing. Read the summaries or introductions of these chapters. This gives you a taste of the author's specific arguments and style. It's like sampling a few key dishes at the buffet before deciding to eat. You get a more concrete feel for what the author is actually saying. Finally, in this systematic skimming, do a bit of random sampling. Open the book to a few different pages, maybe spread out across the book. Read a paragraph or two, maybe a few pages. Just look for the main arguments, the recurring themes, the author's overall tone. It's like taking a quick tour of the buffet. And listen up, don't skip the last few pages. Authors often save their best punchlines or final summaries for the end. It's where they often reiterate their main points and conclusions. You might miss the whole point of the book if you skip the ending. So, why bother with all this skimming? Well, first, it's incredibly efficient. It lets you quickly decide if a book is worth your time for a deep dive. Second, it gives you a clear mental map of the book's structure, making it much easier to navigate later. Third, it's active reading. You're not just passively staring at the page, you're actively looking for information. Fourth, it helps you avoid getting bogged down in the details too early. And finally, it saves you precious time. Why waste hours reading a book you don't even need to read deeply? Skimming is your first line of defense against wasted time. Now, let's move to the second stage of inspectional reading, superficial reading. This sounds a bit negative, but stick with me. It's about reading a difficult book, from start to finish, in one go. The key here is to skip over the parts you don't understand right now. Don't stop to look up every word or ponder every complex sentence. Just keep going. The goal is to get a general sense of the entire book. Think of it like reading a map of a country you've never visited. You get the general shape of the land, the main rivers and mountains, before you start exploring specific towns or landmarks. Here's the golden rule for this superficial reading: don't stop. When you hit a tough passage, don't stop. Don't look up the dictionary. Don't get bogged down in footnotes. Just keep reading. Focus on what you can understand. Skip the parts you don't get right now. You'll get to something you can understand. Then, keep going. Finish the book. This might seem counterintuitive, but it's incredibly effective. It prevents you from getting stuck in a single difficult section, which can lead to frustration and discouragement. And the initial understanding you gain, even if it's just a rough outline, will actually help you understand those difficult parts better when you read them again later. Why does this don't stop rule actually work? Well, first, it prevents you from stagnating. You avoid getting stuck in one difficult part and losing the overall flow of the book. Second, it builds initial understanding. Even if you only understand half the book, that's better than understanding nothing. Third, it prepares you for rereading. That first pass gives you context and background knowledge, so when you go back to the tough parts, you're better equipped to tackle them. Think about reading Shakespeare. If you stop at every archaic word or footnote, you'll never get the play. Reading it all through first gives you a much better sense of the plot and characters, which then allows you to appreciate the details much more effectively. Now, let's talk speed. Inspectional reading is all about speed and efficiency. It requires you to read quickly. This brings us to speed reading courses. Many people ask about these. The truth is, most speed reading courses are primarily about correcting basic reading habits. They often focus on things like sub-vocalizing, which we'll get to. But the key takeaway here is that reading speed isn't just about going fast. It's about knowing when to read fast and when to read slow. Inspectional reading is a form of trained fast reading, but it's not just about speed. It's about reading the right parts of the book, at the right speed, for the right purpose. You're not trying to read every word in a nanosecond, you're trying to get the maximum information in the minimum time. One of the biggest culprits slowing down reading is vacation. Many of us, unconsciously, read word by word, or even letter by letter, in our minds. We sub-vocalize. And when we read a line, our eyes tend to fixate on a few words, stopping and starting, and then regress, moving back and forth. This is incredibly inefficient. Our brains are capable of processing much more information at once. The good news is, these habits can be corrected. A simple trick is to use your hand. Move your fingers down the page, faster than you think you can read, and force your eyes to follow your hand. It's surprising how quickly your eyes can adapt to move faster and read more efficiently, reducing fixation and regression. Okay, so you can speed up your reading. But does that mean you understand more? Speed reading courses often claim to improve comprehension, and to some extent, they can. They can help you focus and avoid distractions. But true comprehension goes deeper. It's not just about answering basic questions like, "What is this about?" or "Who did what?" It's about understanding the author's deeper arguments, their implications, their nuances. Think about the Declaration of Independence. You can read the first few pages pretty fast, but the first 2 paragraphs? They are dense with meaning. You can't really rush through those. You need to slow down, ponder, and reflect. Speed reading is great for getting the gist, but for deeper understanding, you need analytical reading. So, let's wrap up inspectional reading. The key takeaway is that reading speed isn't fixed, it should vary depending on the material. Skimming is always a good idea, especially if you're unsure if a book is worth your time. The don't stop rule is crucial for tackling difficult books. Remember, inspectional reading is a foundation for analytical reading. It's about active engagement, not passive consumption. It's about being efficient and effective. You're not just reading words, you're actively engaging with the text to understand its structure and main ideas. Now, let's shift gears slightly. We've talked about inspectional reading, but reading itself is an active activity. It's easy to drift off, to let your mind wander. But if you want to truly benefit from reading, you need to be awake, focused, and engaged. You need to be a self-commanding reader. This means you're in charge of your reading process. You're not just passively absorbing information, you're actively questioning, analyzing, and thinking. Many people struggle to read effectively because they lack the skills and habits to be truly active readers. It's not about being lazy, but about knowing how to engage with the text. So, how do you become an active reader? The core of active reading is asking questions. Specifically, 4 basic questions about any book you're reading. First, what is the book about as a whole? What's the main theme? What's the author's overall structure? Second, what is the author saying in detail? What are the main ideas, the supporting arguments? Third, is the book well written? Is it clear? Is it persuasive? Fourth, what is the relevance of this book to you? What information does it provide? What insights can you gain? These 4 questions are your compass for navigating any text. Now, buying a book is like buying a house, you own it financially. But true ownership is intellectual. You have to make it part of your own understanding. And the best way to do that? Note-taking. Writing down your thoughts, your questions, your summaries. It's not just about highlighting, it's about actively engaging with the text. Why is it so important? First, it keeps you awake. Second, it forces you to think and articulate. Third, it helps you remember the author's ideas. Think of it as a dialogue with the author. You're not just passively receiving information, you're actively participating in the conversation. You're showing respect to the author by engaging with their ideas. So, how do you actually take notes? There are tons of ways. You can underline key sentences, use double underlines for extra emphasis. Use symbols like stars for the absolute most important points. Number key arguments in sequence. Use cross-references to link related ideas. Circle keywords. Write marginal notes in the white space, summarizing ideas, asking questions, or just jotting down thoughts. And don't forget the blank pages at the beginning. Use them to write an outline of the book's overall structure. This shows you've truly grasped the book's architecture. It's all about finding methods that work for you and actively engaging with the text. Depending on how you're reading, the type of notes you take will change. During inspectional reading, you're mainly taking structural notes, focusing on the book's organization, the main chapters, the overall flow. During analytical reading, you shift to conceptual notes, focusing on the author's ideas, their arguments, the nuances of their points. And when you're doing thematic reading, comparing multiple books on a single topic, you use dialectical notes, comparing and contrasting ideas across different books. Each type of note serves a different purpose, but all contribute to a deeper understanding. Finally, let's talk about habit. Becoming a good reader, like any skill, takes practice. It's not something you learn overnight. It's about developing habits, practicing the rules, and gradually improving. Think of it like learning to ski. You start with basic steps, bending your knees, looking down the slope, keeping your balance. It's awkward and frustrating at first. But as you practice, those individual steps become automatic, and you can focus on the overall movement. It's the same with reading. You need to practice the different steps of reading, from basic comprehension to advanced analysis, until they become natural. Once you've mastered the individual steps, you can focus on the overall goal of understanding and enjoying the reading process. So, that's a whirlwind tour of inspectional reading and the path to becoming a more active, self-commanding reader. Remember, inspectional reading is your reconnaissance mission, helping you quickly assess and understand the terrain. Active reading is about engagement, questioning, and self-direction. Note-taking is your tool for making the book truly yours. And finally, it's all about practice. Keep practicing, keep engaging, and you'll find that reading becomes a richer, more rewarding experience. Happy reading!